Anne-Marie Waters is the leader of the For Britain Party. Recently, Anne-Marie decided to stand in the Batley and Spen by-election. Since then, she has been issuing some videos about Batley and Spen and the campaign, etc. A few days ago, in one of these videos, which she recorded in her car, she had been out campaigning. The exact details I don't know, but she was presumably knocking at doors, handing out leaflets, something like that. Maybe on her own, maybe with a couple of other people, something like that. But she remarked on the fact on the way home after this that the whole thing was like a covert operation. Basically, she couldn't advertise the event in advance. And so she went out to this neighbourhood herself and maybe with some other people. Basically, they went out and they snuck into a neighbourhood with their heads down, did whatever they had to do, and then got out fast before a mob of bullies turned up. Now, for those who don't know, For Britain is, since its inception, For Britain has been subjected to bullying and intimidation. Every time, if For Britain tries to rent a hotel room for a talk or a conference, the hotel will be threatened. These Antifa types, these extreme left people, will put pressure on the hotel to stop the meeting. If For Britain want to hold a public meeting in a local town square or something, these people will come along and scream, scum, scum, all that sort of thing. So, ever since For Britain came into existence, it has been essentially impossible for it to function as a normal political party. Now, in politics, you have the media. Now, the media are totally against For Britain and do nothing but slander it. But you have the media. But if you don't have the media, you can still function. You're at a severe disadvantage, but you can still operate politically. Now, if you are denied access to the new public square, media, social media, well, if you're denied access or your access is restricted, which is the case with For Britain, if you're denied that access, you're under a very serious handicap, but you can still function without it. Now, For Britain has access to social media, but it's tenuous. It's very tenuous. And the blink of an eye, that access will be withdrawn. So then we come last, but not least, to access to the old traditional public square. The ability to walk down the street and conduct your normal political business, handing out leaflets, knocking on people's doors, maybe standing outside the local supermarket and talking to people. This is the fundamental backbone, so to speak, of basic political activity. If you cannot go out and talk to your constituents, if you cannot go out and talk reasonably with the public, with the people, then you're finished. You can't succeed. Now, Anne-Marie has been reflecting on the situation of the For Britain Party, that the constant bullying, the constant bullying and the constant intimidation. If you're a member of For Britain and you go out there to try and engage with the public, you have rent-a-mob, you have far-left activists, funded, supported by the NGO system, by government, by big business. And these people, they don't engage in protests. No reasonable person, if you look at the activities of Antifa, the far left, and all of these people, the anti-racist movement, all of these people, no reasonable person could consider their activity as protest. It is not protest, it's intimidation. And the purpose is to intimidate. And in fact, all of these organizations admit it. They say it quite openly. They don't deny it at all. So here we have a situation where for Britain and Anne-Marie, they're being prevented at a very basic level. As I say, if they're slandered by the press, you can still function. If you're kicked off social media, you can still function, although you're at very serious disadvantage. But if you can't function in the street, if you cannot peaceably go around your business, your political business, then you can't succeed. You literally can't. It's as simple as that. So the question is, what is to be done? Well, in order to work out what is to be done, you have to ask, why is this happening? For Britain is being intimidated. The individuals in Britain and the party also. For Britain is being prevented from functioning as a normal political party out in the normal world. This is a simple statement of fact. So why is this happening? Well, there's a few reasons, but one reason in particular. The reason this is happening, in very large measure, is because For Britain is letting it happen. For Britain and Anne-Marie Waters have totally mismanaged this situation. Their strategy has been wrong in response to this. It has been totally wrong. Instead of confronting this, they've given in to it. You know, For Britain should be advertising its meetings in advance. It doesn't. For Britain should be using every opportunity to get up there and talk to the public. It doesn't, because it can't, because it won't be allowed. So, and what is For Britain doing about this? Well, the answer is they're doing nothing. So let's cut to the chase, as they say here. What should For Britain do about this? Well, the first thing is you don't give in to bullies. This is very simple. It really is very simple. If, for instance, you're on a leaflet drop, what should For Britain actually do about this? Okay, well, let me give you an example. Anne-Marie Waters is running in Batley and Spen. What should Anne-Marie do? Okay, the next time Anne-Marie is going out to knock on doors, she should advertise this fact on social media. She should go onto Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of these, and say, hello, I'll be in such and such an area, let's say from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock, I'll be handing out my literature, love to meet you. That's what Anne-Marie should do. And then she should also leave a message for the far left, for the bullies and the thugs. And she should say to those people, okay, I'm going out to do my political business here. And I'm going to hand out, let's say, 500 leaflets. You just say that. And then she should say, well, actually, it's up to you how many leaflets to hand out. Do you want me to hand out 500, or would you prefer I hand out 5,000? What about 10,000? Because it's up to you. If you respect my right to carry on normal political activity, I'll hand out approximately 500, and I'll talk to people for approximately 2 hours. If you don't respect that, I'll hand out 5,000. And if you don't respect that, well, I'll come back the next day and I'll have 10,000 leaflets. And you still insist on carrying on, well, the next day I'll have 20,000 or 30,000 leaflets, and I will deliver every single one of those. If I have to crawl on my hands and knees, I will deliver every single one of those. You know, if you're dealing with these people, you know, bullying, you know, bullies bully because there is a benefit to them. They bully because they get what they want out of it. So the first thing that a bully you do is you explain to them that they're not going to get what they want. That in actual fact, in this particular case, you say, well, you know, do you want 500 leaflets delivered in this neighbourhood, or would you prefer 50,000? And then if these people bully you, you go out and you deliver 50,000. Now, you know, when this type of intimidation starts, we'll say a simple thing like a leaflet drop. If you're doing a leaflet drop and people come along and try and intimidate you, what you do is you finish a leaflet drop as best as you can. You go home at dinner, etc., etc., and then you get up the next morning with a lot more leaflets, and you go to that neighbourhood, and you don't spend 2 hours there. You spend 5 or 6 hours there. That's what you do. That's how you beat bullies. It's as simple, literally as simple as that. It's literally as simple as that. You know, bullies are saying rational people. And there are certain rules in the bullying game. Bullies don't bully strong people. Bullies only bully people that they perceive to be weak and vulnerable. Bullies only bully people when they get away with it, only. If you make perfectly clear to a bully, number one, I've got these leaflets and I'm going to deliver them, and nobody is going to stop me, nobody. If I have to crawl on my hands and knees, I'll crawl on my hands and knees, but I will deliver these. You know, if you make it clear to people, you know, okay, you're not happy with this, well, bully me, and it's going to be this multiplied 100 times. Your choice. Now, if you do this, and if you're consistent, the bullying will stop. It's as simple as that. You want to stop bullying, you want to stop intimidation, there's one simple solution to it. You don't tolerate it. If someone says you can't go there, you go there every day. Simple as that. You go there every day, you bring loads of leaflets, you talk to everyone. Simple as that. It is literally as simple as that. Now, that might sound like a simple solution, and yes, it is, because the issue is profoundly, profoundly simple. Now, I want to talk about intimidation and bullying, something I know a little bit about. Actually, it's something I know a lot about. But, hold on a minute. Let's talk about bullying and bullies. You know, yes, Somebody once said that attitudes are more important than facts. And there's an element of truth and a very real wisdom about that. Because let me give you a fact about bullying, not an opinion, a fact. If you have let's say if you get up, you, the person watching this, statistically, you have a chance of being bullied. Let's say that you have a 1 chance in 1,000. I don't know what the actual figure is. The actual figure isn't important. Let's say that you personally, you have, when you get up tomorrow morning and you go about your business, let's just say you have 1 chance in 1,000 of being bullied. Okay, you get up in the morning, look in the mirror, look yourself directly in the eye and say, I'm not going to be bullied. I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to tolerate this under any circumstance. If you say that and you mean it, you can walk out your front door and you might be bullied first thing. That's possible. But statistically, it's very, very, very unlikely. If, let's say, you have a 1 in 1,000 chance of being bullied, you make the decision you're not going to be bullied, that chance becomes maybe 1 in 100,000, something like that. Attitudes matter. Bullies don't bully people they perceive to be strong. Bullies never pick on strong opponents. They always pick on weak people, or people they figure are weak, or people who are vulnerable. And so how do they know? How do they know that you are vulnerable, you're weak? How do they know that? Well, they know it in large part because of your attitude. Your attitude and your body language. If you have an attitude that nobody's going to bully me, if you really have a serious attitude that you're not going to let anyone bully you, that will affect your body language in very, very subtle ways, and people will pick up on it. We've all met people in life. We've all met ordinary, nice, just people. You meet people, but we've all met those people that you meet them, you're in company, and instinctively, you realize you don't mess with this person. And it doesn't have to be a tough person or a big person. You might have a tiny little nondescript person, and yet you meet them, and literally, you get the vibe. I can have a talk with the person, I can have an argument with the person, but I can't take liberties. You know that instinctively. Well, that's your attitude, and that affects your body language in lots of subtle ways. So, for instance, in the case of Anne-Marie Borders, if Anne-Marie Borders doesn't want to be bullied or intimidated, and presumably she doesn't, well, of course she doesn't, then here's a simple thing. If Anne-Marie gets up every morning worried that she's going to be bullied, there's a strong possibility she will be, particularly as she's in those situations, political situations. But if Anne-Marie gets up every morning, looks in the mirror and says, excuse my language, but fuck me, fuck this, fuck this. I'm not going to put up with this crap. I'm not going to let these lowlife bully me and intimidate me. It's not going to work. I've got 500 leaflets. If they don't let me deliver these, if they make it, then I'll come out tomorrow. I'll come out with 20,000. I'll come out with 50,000. I'll haunt this neighbourhood. Every pigeon, every dog, and every cat will have a leaflet. Now, all this may sound simplistic, but actually, it's not simplistic, but it is simple. If you have that attitude, if you seriously have that attitude, if you are serious about this and you have a serious determination that you're not going to be bullied, you might still be bullied, but the chances dramatically reduce. Most bullies are not stupid. Most bullies are very good at reading people. Bullies very rarely get it wrong. They're very good at sussing people out. If you wake up one day and you decide, I've had enough of this, straight away, a lot of bullies, a lot of those intimidators will realise it. They'll realise that it will be because of your body language. You know, you walk down the road and you're not going to take any crap. The chances of people interfering you reduces dramatically. Attitudes are hugely important. Now, all of this is simple. And you might say, well, it's too simple. It's not as simple as that. Well, yes, it is as simple as this. It is as simple. It literally is as simple as that. Now, there's also a certain amount of hard work involved. It mightn't work overnight. It won't work overnight. It might take a few days, a few weeks, even a few months to work. But you see, this whole thing about intimidation only works if you put up with it. Again, it's as simple as that. You know, for Britain has been acting foolishly in relation to all of this. You know, the very first time, you know, Anne-Marie this is a year ago, maybe less, I can't remember. Anne-Marie went out one night for a social night. I think it was in the East End of London. She went on the Ripper walk with some of her friends who happened to be members of the For Britain party. And of course they were seen. And somebody got on their mobile phone, put it on Twitter, and next minute there was a mob of people turned up. What did Anne-Marie do? Well, she hid in a supermarket and waited for the police to come. And that was a mistake. You don't run from these people under any circumstances. If they have hatchets in their hand, you don't run from them. Now, what Anne-Marie should have done was not call to the police. She should have faced them. And then she should have gone back to that neighbourhood the following night, or better still, the following day with some leaflets. That was a golden opportunity for Anne-Marie to send a very clear message. You want to bully me? That'll cost you 1,000 leaflets. You bully me, 1,000 leaflets will be delivered in that neighbourhood. No ifs, no buts, no maybe. It's like a button. You press that button, leaflets will be delivered in that neighbourhood. Simple as that. And that's what Anne-Marie should have done. Anne-Marie should have stood up with people, literally in the street. Now, there's a possibility, of course, she might have got a punch. Well, that's life. But she probably wouldn't have. 90% of the time, she wouldn't. There's always that risk. But you have to take that risk. You have to accept that risk. You have to embrace that risk. Otherwise, you live in fear. Otherwise, you're intimidated. You know, Anne-Marie should have gone back the next day and canvassed that neighbourhood with leaflets. You send out a clear message. You like bullying people? Well, it won't work. Not only will it not work, it will have the exact opposite effect that you desire. Simple as that. Now, every time someone tries to bully you, the correct response is to do exactly what they don't want. You know, you might say, well, talk is cheap. It's easy for me sitting here, an old guy waffling on, I'd do this, I'd do that. But that's not the point. The point is that what I am saying is true, and you know it, and I know it, and Anne-Marie Waters knows it, and Prof. Britain knows it. You don't give in to bullies. You don't submit to intimidation. You deal with this by facing it head on. It's as simple as that. There's no nuance in any of this. There's no different possibility in any of this. It's as simple as that. And let me put this another way. I'm not a strong person. I'm not a tough person. I never was a strong or a tough person or anything like that. I've always been a bit of a weakling, a bit of a wimp, you could say. But if I was living in Britain and I was a member of the Forwarding Party and I was helping Anne-Marie in the Batley and Spen by-election, nobody would stop me delivering leaflets. Nobody. Now, I'm not living in Britain. I'm living here in Dublin. But, you know, I go to protests every so often, free speech protests and that sort of thing. Nobody will ever stop me going to those. Nobody. Nobody. If somebody stood outside my door with a gun, that wouldn't stop me. There is not a single human being on this planet who will stop me from doing what I want or what I want to do politically. Apart from shooting me in the head. If you want to stop me, if you want to shut me up, you'll have to shoot me. Simple as that. Now, as it happens, I don't get bullied a lot. You know, if your attitude is that you're not going to tolerate it, you will tend not to get bullied. But I'm waffling on a bit. I'm waffling on quite a bit here. But, you know, the important thing here is that what I am saying is true. What I'm saying is true. But Anne-Marie Waters and the Forbidden People, for some reason or other, they are reluctant to make a stand on this. And I think they're making a mistake, a serious mistake. For instance, one of the things that Anne-Marie said, and I'm paraphrasing, she said, you know, we can't go maybe to certain neighbourhoods because if we go there, these people will start trouble and maybe it'll end in violence and we'll be blamed for it. Now, this is what Anne-Marie said. You know, we can't go there because they'll start to turn violent and we'll be blamed. That's what Anne-Marie said. Now, Anne-Marie is wrong. That's blackmail. And you don't give in to blackmail. Simple as that. There's no if, buts, maybes. You don't give in to blackmail. You face it there and then. You know, is it possible that if you go to that neighbourhood, that these people will cause trouble, there will be violence and you'll be blamed? Yes. But that's the risk you have to take. Because the alternative is one thing only. It means you can't go to that neighbourhood. And by extension, a lot of other places you can't go. You know, this whole issue is very, very, very simple. It's very uncomplicated. You don't give in to bullies. You don't submit to intimidation. It's as simple as that. And for Britain and Anne-Marie, it's a simple choice. Anne-Marie and I hugely admire Anne-Marie. She is the #1 woman in Britain, as far as I'm concerned. A wonderful woman, and she's doing a great job, a very good job. But on this, she is wrong. She is objectively wrong. She is seriously wrong, and it's having a serious effect on the party. They're the facts. You mightn't like them, but they are the facts. You know, if you are a follower of Anne Marie, if you like Anne Marie, if you want her to succeed, well, pretending that everything is all right, that's not being a friend to Anne Marie. If you're a friend of Anne Marie and you can see her doing something wrong, seriously wrong, then you say it. You say, Anne Marie, you're a great woman, great girl. I'll follow you to hell and back. But on this wrong, you're handling this wrong. That's what you do if you're a friend. And Anne Marie and the For Britain Party are handling this entire situation wrong. But it's not just Anne Marie and the For Britain Party. It's the voice of dissent in general. You know, the people, let's say, who would have the same general worldview as Anne Marie Waters would. You know, the resistance, if you like. They've all got it wrong. You have this extraordinary situation where you have an entire population of people, what would be called today the far right, and all of these people are just taking the intimidation and the bullying. None of them are fighting back. Anyhow, that's another story. But it's very simple. You want to stop bullying, you want For Britain to be able to function as a normal political party in the street. It's very simple. The very first thing is you change your attitude. The very first thing is that you sit down in your own home, you have a cup of coffee and you think about it and you make a decision. You're not going to be intimidated. That's the first thing you do. You develop the right attitude. You look in the mirror and you ask, what do you want? Do you want this party to succeed? Do you want it to fail? Because if you want it to succeed, then you have to have access to the public space. This is a make or break issue. There's no middle ground here. So you make up your mind. Do you want to succeed? If the answer is yes, you want to succeed, you want For Britain to succeed, then you have to take control of the public space. You have to take control of that particular narrative. There's no other option. You have to make your decision that you will not be intimidated under any circumstances. And then when you go out, a lot of that intimidation will actually stop. It will happen over time, but over time people get the message. Over time there'll be less and less people who are prepared to stand at the back front of the queue. And you know, there are lots of people right now that come up into your face because they've got the mob behind them and they know you're not going to do anything. A lot of those people will fade away. A lot of those people, they'll look at you, they'll look at your body language, they'll look at your attitude, and they'll realize, hang on, this woman's going to fight back, this person's going to fight back. I'll find someone else. I'll find an easier target. You know, if you want to change this situation, if you want to have access to the public space, if you want to function as a normal political party, the first thing is you have to change your attitude. You have to make up your mind that you have a right to use that public space and you will use it and nobody will stop you. And if the only way you can access that public space is on your hands and knees, then you'll go on your hands and knees. But you won't be driven off that public space. I'll come back to this issue again.